The stars looked different from this far out. Ambassador David Chen stood before the observation window of the diplomatic vessel, watching the massive structure grow larger as they approached. Concordia Prime hung in the darkness like a jeweled crown, its countless lights reflecting off polished metal surfaces that stretched for kilometers in every direction. This was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement, the moment when Earth finally joined the Galactic Council as an equal member. But something felt wrong. Beautiful, isn't it? Captain Sarah Reeves stepped beside him, her military uniform crisp and formal. She held a datapad in one hand, though Chen noticed her other hand stayed near her sidearm. Too beautiful, if you ask me. Chen nodded slowly. They had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this neutral station, deep in unclaimed space. The invitation had arrived 6 months ago, delivered by a Luminar diplomatic ship that appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. After decades of Cold War tensions, suspicious encounters at the edges of human space, and countless failed negotiations, the Galactic Council suddenly wanted peace. The timing was suspicious, but Earth's government decided they had to try. How many ships did the Council bring? Chen asked. Official count is 47 diplomatic vessels from various species, Reeves replied. But our sensors keep picking up strange readings. There are more ships out there, hiding in the debris field behind the station. We count at least 30 additional vessels, maybe more. Chen felt his stomach tighten. They said this was a demilitarized zone. They lied, Lieutenant Marcus Webb said, approaching from behind. The intelligence officer looked like he had not slept in days, his eyes red and his uniform slightly wrinkled. Sir, we need to talk. In private. The three of them moved to a secure briefing room. Webb activated a holographic display showing Concordia Prime and the surrounding space. Red dots marked the hidden vessels Reeves had mentioned. But there were more now, dozens more scattered throughout the sector. I've been monitoring their communications, Webb explained. They're using encryption that they think we can't break. But our AI finally cracked it 2 hours ago. He pulled up a translated transcript. They're planning something. The word they keep using translates roughly to containment protocol or elimination sequence. Sir, this isn't a peace treaty. It's a trap. Chen read the transcript carefully. His hands remained steady, though his heart raced. He had suspected this might happen. Earth's military intelligence had warned him before he left. Humanity had expanded too quickly, colonized too many worlds, advanced too fast. The established powers of the galaxy saw them as a threat, an upstart species that needed to be controlled or destroyed before they became too powerful. Does Earth Command know? Chen asked. Webb nodded. I sent an encrypted burst transmission as soon as we confirmed it. But we're 3 weeks from any reinforcements. If they spring the trap tomorrow at the signing ceremony, we're on our own. Reeves smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Good. Chen and Webb both looked at her. The captain walked to the display and zoomed in on their own fleet. What appeared to be a small diplomatic vessel and 3 light escort cruisers suddenly showed different specifications on her private readout. Did you really think Earth Command would send our diplomats into unknown space with just a light escort? Reeves asked. The Olive Branch isn't a civilian ship. She's a Q ship, a warship disguised as a diplomat transport. Under this pretty exterior, we have enough firepower to level a small moon. And those escort cruisers? They're actually heavy dreadnoughts with holographic camouflage, making them look smaller and weaker than they are. Webb's eyes widened. You knew? The whole time? We suspected, Chen said quietly. I volunteered for this mission knowing it might be a trap. So did everyone else on these ships. The crew you see walking around as diplomats and civilian staff, half of them are Special Forces soldiers. The cultural artifacts we brought as gifts? They're weapons caches. We came here expecting treachery. Reeves pulled up another display. There's more. See that nebula 30 light minutes away? 3 human dreadnoughts are hiding there under full stealth. They've been following us since we left Earth space, maintaining total radio silence. If things go bad, they'll be here in less than an hour. Webb sat down heavily. So this entire mission is what, bait? Not bait, Chen corrected. Proof. Earth needs the other species in the galaxy to see what the Council really is. If we refuse the invitation, they would call us warmongers and paranoid. If we came and they attacked, we would be victims. But if we come knowing it's a trap and survive, he smiled coldly, then we prove that humanity can't be intimidated or eliminated. We prove that we belong at the table not as guests but as equals. The next morning, the human delegation prepared to board Concordia Prime. Chen watched as his team went through final checks. Each person wore formal diplomatic attire that concealed body armor and personal shields. Their ceremonial cases contained both treaty documents and weapons. Everyone knew their role in the performance they were about to give. The airlock opened, and they were greeted by the Vrex hierarchy's honor guard. The insectoid aliens stood 3 meters tall, their chitinous bodies gleaming under the station's lights. Their leader, a warrior diplomat named Crixnell, bowed deeply. "Welcome, humans," Crixnell clicked in translated speech. "The Council awaits your arrival with great anticipation. Tomorrow we end decades of misunderstanding and begin a new era of cooperation." "We look forward to it," Chen replied, noting how the Vrex guards positioned themselves to block certain corridors. He also noticed the weapon scanners were pointed at the human delegation, but not at the other species' representatives. They were escorted to luxurious quarters near the Grand Assembly Hall. The rooms were beautiful, with sweeping views of space and every comfort provided. They were also monitored by 17 different surveillance systems, all of which Webb identified within the first 10 minutes. That evening, a formal reception was held. Hundreds of aliens from dozens of species filled an enormous ballroom. The Luminar Collective representatives glowed with crystalline beauty, their bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns. The Thexian Commonwealth sent their amphibious diplomats who floated in specialized hover tanks. The Kavarian Empire's reptilian nobles wore elaborate robes covered in gems. Chen worked the room, making pleasant conversation while his team spread out. He noticed certain species were absent. The ones intelligence suggested might be sympathetic to humanity. The Zolari merchants who traded with human colonies were not here. The Pelthian scholars who had exchanged information with Earth's scientists were missing. Only the Council's core powers and their client species attended. As the evening wore on, Chen found himself in conversation with the Vrex Queen herself. She towered over him, her compound eyes reflecting his image 1,000 times. "Your species has come far in such a short time," she said, her voice a series of clicks that the translator rendered smooth. "Too far, some say. They worry that humanity seeks dominance rather than cooperation. We seek only our place in the galaxy." Chen replied carefully, "The same as any species." "Of course," the Queen agreed. "And tomorrow at the signing you shall have it. We have prepared a very special ceremony for humanity, one that will define your future among the stars for generations to come." Chen smiled and raised his glass. "We look forward to it, Your Majesty. I assure you humanity is prepared for whatever tomorrow brings." That night, as the delegation prepared for sleep, Webb's final report came through. The trap would spring during the signing ceremony. The moment Chen touched the treaty datapad, the station's defenses would activate and the hidden fleet would emerge. They planned to capture or kill Earth's leadership in one move, then present humanity with an ultimatum: surrender or face extinction. Chen read the report and felt a cold calm settle over him. He sent a single encrypted message back to Earth. "Trap confirmed. Proceeding as planned. See you on the other side. Tomorrow the galaxy would learn what happened when you tried to cage humanity. Tomorrow the hunters would become the hunted. Tomorrow the real negotiations would begin, written not in words but in fire and blood and steel." The Grand Assembly Hall could hold 10,000 beings comfortably, and today it was filled to capacity. Ambassador Chen walked down the central aisle, flanked by his delegation, while thousands of alien eyes watched his every step. The ceiling stretched 50 meters overhead, covered in holographic displays showing the flags and symbols of every Galactic Council member species. At the far end, a raised platform held the signing table, where representatives from the major powers waited. The Vrex Queen sat at the center, her massive form occupying a specially built throne. To her left, 3 Luminar Collective crystals floated in formation, their surfaces pulsing with inner light. To her right, the Thexian Prime Minister waited in his hover tank, and beside him the Kavarian Emperor's representative stood in full ceremonial armor. They all wore expressions that tried to convey friendship, but Chen could see the truth in their eyes. They thought they had already won. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Chen began, his voice amplified throughout the hall. "Humanity stands before you today in a spirit of peace and cooperation. We come seeking not dominance but partnership. Not conflict, but understanding. The Queen gestured with one of her blade-like appendages. Beautiful words, Ambassador. Let us hope they mark the beginning of a new era. Please approach the signing table. The treaty awaits your mark. Chen walked forward slowly. Behind him, his delegation spread out across the chamber floor in a precise formation that looked ceremonial, but was actually tactical. Captain Reeves stood near the main entrance, her hand resting casually on the ceremonial sword at her belt that was much more than decoration. Lieutenant Webb positioned himself near a support pillar that he knew contained the station's main power conduits. The treaty datapad sat on the table, its surface gleaming. Chen reached for it, his fingers extended. 3 more steps, 2 more, 1 more. The gravity failed. For a split second, everyone in the chamber floated weightless. Chen had been expecting it, had trained for it. His delegation activated magnetic boots that locked them to the floor while every alien in the room flailed in confusion. Then the gravity slammed back on, twice as strong as before, crushing the unprepared aliens downward. Warning klaxons blared throughout the station. The holographic displays flickered and changed, showing not flags but targeting reticules. Weapons ports opened in the walls, revealing plasma cannons that swiveled toward the human delegation. Outside, through the massive observation windows, the hidden alien fleet decloaked, their weapons charging with visible energy. The Vrex Queen stood, her voice booming. Humanity, you are hereby detained by order of the Galactic Council. Your species has been deemed a threat to galactic stability. Surrender immediately and you will be treated with mercy. Your leaders will be held as guarantors of human compliance. Your expansion will cease. Your colonies will accept council oversight. Resist and your homeworld will burn. Chen looked up at her and smiled. No, the Queen's mandibles clicked in confusion. You refuse? You are surrounded, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. Your fleet is small and reinforcements are weeks away. There is no escape. You're right about one thing, Chen said, his voice calm. There is no escape. For you. Reeves drew her sword and it hummed to life with a plasma edge. She pressed a button on her wrist and suddenly the human delegation's formal attire dissolved, revealing combat armor beneath. The holographic disguises dropped, showing the weapons they carried. The ceremonial cases opened, deploying automated defense drones. Outside, the olive branch transformed. Panels slid aside, revealing weapons arrays that had been hidden beneath a false hull. The 3 escort cruisers shed their own disguises, expanding to their true size as heavy dreadnoughts. Their shields powered up, glowing with barely contained energy. Did you think we wouldn't know? Chen asked, his voice echoing through the stunned silence. Did you think your encryption was unbreakable? We cracked your codes 3 weeks ago. We've known about every part of your plan since before we left Earth. And we came anyway. The Luminar Collective speakers crackled. Impossible. Our security protocols are beyond human capability. Webb laughed from his position by the pillar. Your security protocols were designed to stop other council species. You all spy on each other constantly. So you built your encryption to resist each other's methods. But you never considered that humans approach problems differently. We don't just try to break codes. We study the psychology of the codemakers. We build quantum computers specifically designed to crack your particular mathematical weaknesses. We used your own arrogance against you. The station's weapons fired, but the human shields were already up. Personal barriers surrounded each member of the delegation, deflecting the plasma bolts. The automated drones launched from their cases, filling the air with counterfire that targeted the station's weapons with surgical precision. Outside, the alien fleet opened fire on the human ships. Thousands of missiles and energy beams converged on the olive branch and her escorts. The space around them lit up like a star going nova. When the light faded, the human ships were intact. Their shields had held. Reeves touched her communicator. All ships weapons free. Show them what human engineering can do. The olive branch's main cannon fired. The beam cut through space and struck one of the alien cruisers dead center. The ship's shields collapsed instantly and the hull cracked like an egg. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure as it broke apart. The 3 dreadnoughts spread out, their movements precise and coordinated. They had been designed with one purpose: to fight outnumbered and win. Their point defense systems created a web of fire that intercepted incoming missiles before they could get close. Their main guns fired in sequence, each shot carefully aimed to disable rather than destroy. Humanity wanted prisoners, not corpses. They wanted witnesses to tell the galaxy what happened when you betrayed your own treaties. Inside the assembly hall, chaos erupted. Alien dignitaries tried to flee, but the doors had been sealed. Chen's Special Forces team moved through the crowd with brutal efficiency, their training showing in every movement. They used non-lethal weapons when possible, stunning aliens and securing them with restraints. But when Council security forces tried to fight back, the humans responded with deadly precision. The Vrex warriors rushed toward Chen, their natural weapons extended. These were trained soldiers, each one capable of tearing a human apart with bare claws. But the humans had studied Vrex biology for years. They knew exactly where to shoot to penetrate the chitinous armor, exactly how to move to avoid the blade-like appendages. The Vrex warriors fell one by one, their superior size and strength meaningless against superior tactics and preparation. The Luminar Collective tried to use their energy manipulation abilities, firing bolts of crystallized light at the humans. But human armor had been designed with their powers in mind, using special coatings that dispersed energy attacks. The Luminar representatives found themselves trapped in containment fields, their light dimming as the fields drained their power. The Thexian Prime Minister tried to activate a hidden weapon in his hover tank. Webb shot it out with a precise blast that fried the electronics without harming the minister himself. "We know about that too," Webb said pleasantly. "We know about all your hidden weapons. We've been preparing for this moment for 5 years." Reeves fought her way toward the platform, her plasma sword cutting through security drones and energy shields alike. 2 Kavarian guards tried to stop her, their reptilian strength formidable. But Reeves had trained with Earth's best martial artists, and she knew that strength meant nothing without speed and technique. She flowed around their attacks like water, her sword finding the weak points in their armor with surgical precision. They fell and she kept moving. The Vrex Queen rose to her full height, preparing to fight. She was 3 meters of armored killing machine, a warrior who had defeated challengers in ritual combat for decades. She looked at Chen, expecting fear. Instead, Chen drew his own weapon, a compact plasma pistol that looked almost toy-like in comparison to the Queen's natural arsenal. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "I suggest you stand down. This doesn't have to end with your death." The Queen laughed, a harsh clicking sound. "You think your little weapon can harm me? I have fought in 100 battles. I have crushed enemies with my bare claws. You are nothing but a soft, weak human." "Yes," Chen agreed. "I am human. That means I don't fight fair. That means I study my enemies and exploit their weaknesses. That means I know that 3 centimeters below your 3rd thorax segment, there's a nerve cluster that controls your entire left side. Hit it right and you're paralyzed. Miss and you kill me." He aimed carefully. "Want to find out if I studied hard enough?" The Queen stared at him, and for the first time Chen saw fear in those compound eyes. She had assumed humans were weak, that their soft bodies and lack of natural weapons made them inferior. She had never considered that intelligence and preparation could overcome physical advantages. Outside, the battle had turned decisively. More council ships arrived, but they found themselves outmaneuvered by the human vessels. The dreadnoughts moved with impossible grace, their AI-assisted targeting systems hitting enemy ships with every shot while dodging incoming fire. The Olive Branch had become the center of a storm of destruction. The corridors of Concordia Prime had become a battlefield. What the architects designed as grand processional halls now echoed with weapons fire and the screams of the wounded. Captain Sarah Reeves led Alpha Team through Section 7, where the station's main computer core was located. The Council had assumed the humans would try to flee. They never imagined humanity would push deeper into the station, taking control from the inside. "Contact 20 meters ahead," Sergeant James Park whispered into his comm. His enhanced vision showed 3 Virex warriors guarding a junction. "Heavy armor, plasma rifles, defensive position." Reeves studied the tactical display on her wrist screen. The corridor was straight, no cover. Exactly the kind of killing ground the Vrex preferred. Most species would retreat and find another route. Humans had a different approach. "Deploy smokescreens and thermal chaff," Reeves ordered. "Park, you and Chen take the ceiling access. Richards, prep the resonator. We go in 30 seconds. The team moved with practiced efficiency. These were Earth's best soldiers, trained specifically for the possibility of fighting in alien environments. Every member had studied Vrex biology, Luminar energy patterns, Thexian sensory capabilities, and the weaknesses of every council species. Humanity had spent decades preparing for the day when diplomacy would fail, and violence would be the only language the galaxy understood. The smoke screens deployed, filling the corridor with thick clouds that confused the wreck sensors. Thermal chaff created false heat signatures that scattered throughout the smoke. The Vrex opened fire blindly, their plasma bolts cutting through the smoke but hitting nothing vital. Park and Chen dropped from the ceiling access panels directly above the Vrex position. Their boots made no sound as they landed behind the warriors. The Vrex armor was nearly impenetrable from the front, designed to absorb massive amounts of damage. But humanity had learned that every armor had weak points, and the Vrex had joints that needed flexibility to move. Park's vibro knife slid between the third and fourth thorax segments of the first warrior, severing the neural connection. The warrior collapsed instantly, paralyzed but alive. The second Vrex turned, but Chen was already moving. He fired his weapon at point-blank range into the warrior's primary visual cluster. The Vrex reeled backward, blinded, and Chen followed up with a strike to the leg joint that brought the massive creature down. The third warrior was faster, his combat experience showing as he adapted to the threat. He swung his plasma rifle like a club, forcing Chen to dodge. But that moment of distraction was what Reeves needed. She triggered the sonic resonator, a weapon designed specifically for Vrex biology. The device emitted a frequency that vibrated at exactly the resonant frequency of Vrex chitinous armor. The warrior's armor began to crack, the sound waves turning his own protection into a prison that shattered from within. He collapsed, his armor in pieces. Section 7 secured, Reeves reported, proceeding to objective. Throughout the station, similar scenes played out. Human teams moved through the corridors with surgical precision, taking control of key systems and strategic positions. The Council security forces outnumbered the humans 10-1, but numbers meant nothing when the enemy knew exactly how to defeat you. In Section 3, Lieutenant Webb's team reached the main communication hub. The Luminar Collective had designed it, and it was a masterpiece of crystalline technology that could send messages across the galaxy instantly. Webb admired it for exactly 3 seconds before he started hacking into it. "They really are beautiful," Private Lisa Torres said, watching the crystalline structures pulse with inner light. "Shame we have to hijack it." "We're not hijacking it," Webb corrected as his fingers flew over his portable terminal. "We're liberating it." Big difference. His AI assistant, a program named Athena that he had spent 5 years developing, was already breaking through the Luminar security protocols. The Council has been controlling galactic communications for centuries. Every message, every news broadcast, every diplomatic communication goes through systems they control. That means they control what information reaches which species. They've kept entire civilizations in the dark about what's really happening in the galaxy. Torres glanced at the doorway, her weapon ready. "So what are we going to do with it?" "Tell the truth," Webb replied. His terminal beeped and he smiled. "We're in." Athena, broadcast on all frequencies. Audio, visual, and quantum entanglement channels. "I want every species in the galaxy to see what's happening here." The communication hub lit up like a star. Across the galaxy on a million worlds, the regular broadcast suddenly cut out. In their place, a new message appeared. It showed the battle at Concordia Prime in real time, broadcast from multiple angles using both human and captured Council sensors. It showed the trap being sprung, and the Council's declaration that humanity would be contained or destroyed. It showed the human response, the careful preparation, and the devastating efficiency of Earth's military. But more importantly, it showed what came next. Webb had hacked not just the communication hub, but the station's entire database. Years of secret Council communications spilled out across the galaxy. Messages showed how the Council manipulated smaller species, how they suppressed technology that might threaten their dominance, how they had quietly eliminated 3 promising civilizations in the past century, when those species advanced too quickly. The truth came pouring out like water from a broken dam. "Let's see them cover this up," Webb muttered. On the bridge of the Olive Branch, now fully revealed as a warship, Commander Peterson coordinated the space battle with cold precision. Her crew worked in perfect synchronization, the product of countless training exercises and real combat experience from Earth's various conflicts. Humanity had been at war with itself for most of its history, and that terrible legacy had produced warriors who understood violence in ways the Council species never had. The Council fleet outnumbered the human ships 5-1, but the battle was not even close to equal. Human ships moved in 3-dimensional patterns that the alien vessels struggled to predict. Council tactics were based on traditional fleet formations that prioritized formations and firepower concentration. Human tactics were based on chaos, unpredictability, and exploiting every weakness. Target the Thexian cruiser on our port side, Peterson ordered. Fire solution, Charlie. Weapons free. The olive branch's railguns fired, launching projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The Thexian shields, designed to absorb energy weapons, were nearly useless against kinetic weapons. The projectiles punched through and struck the cruiser's engine section. The ship didn't explode, it simply died, its power systems failing as the carefully aimed shots destroyed vital components. Another ship disabled, Peterson announced. Helm, bring us about. Target the Kavarian formation. Show them what happens when you rely on shields and forget about maneuverability. The olive branch spun on its axis, a move that would have been impossible for the larger, less agile council ships. Her weapons tracked new targets even as she moved. The targeting computers adjusted for every variable. The Kavarian ships tried to maintain their formation, but formation tactics only worked when your enemy followed predictable patterns. Peterson's attack came from an angle they hadn't defended, and 3 more ships fell silent. Admiral Joe's dreadnoughts had joined the battle now, and they brought overwhelming firepower. But Joe was careful about how she used it. Every shot was calculated to disable rather than destroy when possible. Dead aliens could not surrender, could not return home to tell their people what happened, could not serve as witnesses to humanity's strength and mercy. This is Admiral Joe to all Council forces. She broadcasted again. You have now seen what human weapons can do. You have lost 18 ships with 0 human casualties. This is not war, this is a demonstration. Stand down now, and this ends with you going home alive. Continue fighting, and we will be forced to stop being gentle. Several Council ships began powering down their weapons. Their captains were not cowards, but they were not fools either. They could see the battle was lost. More importantly, they could see that the humans were not trying to slaughter them. Every human attack had been precise, calculated, and restrained given their obvious superiority. That restraint was more terrifying than violence would have been, because it showed absolute confidence and control. Back in the assembly hall, Ambassador Chen stood before the council leaders. They had been secured in restraints, not painful but unbreakable, and now they sat on the floor like common criminals rather than the rulers of galaxies. Around them, human soldiers stood guard, their weapons ready but not threatening. The message was clear. The humans had won so completely that they did not even need to be aggressive about it. Let me explain what just happened, Chen said, his voice calm and professional. You attempted to trap and eliminate humanity's leadership. You brought a fleet to either capture or destroy our ships. You violated every prin. The surrender was not immediate or clean. Some council ships tried to run, their captains more afraid of returning home in defeat than dying in battle. The human fleet pursued them with relentless efficiency. Admiral Joe's forces spreading out like hunters cornering prey. But humanity had not come this far to let the truth escape into quiet corners of the galaxy. Every ship that fled was tracked, intercepted, and given one final chance to surrender before being disabled. The cruiser Determination's flight led the pursuit of 3 Vrex destroyers trying to escape toward the outer system. Commander Rachel Kim stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display as her prey tried every evasive maneuver in their playbook. They're good, she admitted to her tactical officer. Better than the others. Military ships with experienced crews. Should we destroy them, ma'am? The weapons officer asked. No, Kim replied. I want them alive. Those are veteran crews, which means they've seen real combat. They know what they're capable of. And they're still running from us. That makes them the best witnesses we could ask for. Target their engines only. Disable, don't destroy. The Determination's flight was one of Earth's newest vessels, built with all the lessons humanity had learned from centuries of naval warfare translated into space combat. She was fast, maneuverable, and her weapon systems were designed with one principle: precision over power. Her railguns could put a projectile through a target the size of a dinner plate from 1,000 kilometers away. The first Vrex destroyer took a shot to its main engine. The ship lurched as power failed and it began to drift. The second tried to turn and fight, its weapons locking onto the Determination's flight. Kim smiled coldly. Evasive pattern Delta. Show them why you don't fight humans in a turning battle. Her ship spun and rolled, moving through 3 dimensions with grace that seemed impossible for something so large. The Vrex destroyer's shots missed by meters, then tens of meters, as its targeting system struggled to predict human movements. The Determination's flight returned fire, her shots carefully aimed at weapon mounts and shield generators. Within 2 minutes, the destroyer was neutralized without a single casualty. The third destroyer's captain was smarter. He broadcast surrender immediately, powering down weapons and shields. Kim nodded with respect. That captain just saved his crew. Send a boarding party, standard procedures. Treat them with respect. They made the right choice. Similar scenes played out across the battle space. The human fleet moved with mechanical precision, cutting off escape routes and forcing surrenders. Ships that cooperated were boarded gently, their crews treated as prisoners of war with full rights. Ships that resisted were disabled, then boarded anyway. Within 3 hours, the entire Council fleet was either captured or destroyed, with the ratio heavily favoring captures. Admiral Joe stood on the bridge of her flagship, the dreadnought unconquered, and watched the last enemy ship surrender. She felt no satisfaction, no joy in victory, only a cold understanding of what this battle meant for humanity's future. They had proved their strength today, but strength alone would not be enough. Now came the harder part, building a peace that would last. Send a message to all Council prisoners, Joe ordered. Tell them they will be treated according to Earth's military code of justice. No torture, no mistreatment, and they will be allowed to communicate with their homeworlds. We are not barbarians, and we will prove it through our actions. Her communications officer nodded. Yes, Admiral. Should we also broadcast our prisoner treatment protocols to the galaxy? Absolutely, Joe replied. I want every species to see that we fight hard, but we fight fair. Let them contrast that with how the Council has treated its enemies over the centuries. On Concordia Prime, the situation had stabilized. Human forces controlled all critical systems, and Council security had been disarmed and secured. Medical teams from both sides worked together to treat the wounded, a sight that would have been impossible to imagine just hours ago. Captain Reeves walked through the station's corridors, noting the damage from the fighting and the fear in the eyes of alien civilians who had been caught in the crossfire. She stopped where a young Pelthian family huddled in a doorway. The amphibious beings looked terrified, their skin patterns shifting through colors that Reeves's translator identified as fear and confusion. She knelt down to their level, making herself less threatening. It's okay, she said gently. The fighting is over. You're safe now. The Pelthian father croaked a response. You are human. You destroyed the Council fleet. Will you kill us now? Reeves felt her heart break a little. This was what the Council had taught the galaxy to believe, that humans were monsters, violent and unpredictable. No, she said firmly. We will not harm you or any civilian. This fight was with the Council leadership, not with innocent people. We're going to make sure everyone gets home safely. She stood and continued her patrol, but the encounter stayed with her. This was the real battle humanity faced, not the military one they had just won, but the battle for hearts and minds across the galaxy. They needed to prove they were not the monsters the Council had portrayed. In the assembly hall, now converted into a makeshift command center, Ambassador Chen worked with his team to process the intelligence they had captured. The Council's databases were a treasure trove of information, revealing centuries of manipulation, secret deals, and outright atrocities. Some of it made Chen sick to read. They eliminated the Kessari, Lieutenant Webb said quietly, pulling up a file. Completely wiped them out. The official story was a plague, but these files show it was a bioweapon. The Kessari had developed quantum computing that was 100 years ahead of Council technology. So the Council killed them, 30 billion beings dead because they were too advanced. Chen read the file, his jaw clenched. Make sure that gets into the broadcast. The galaxy needs to know what the Council has been doing. There's more, Webb continued. The Zolari merchants we trade with? The Council has been trying to cut off their access to human markets. They've used economic pressure, threatened embargoes, even sabotaged Zolari ships. The Zolari kept trading with us anyway, and it's cost them. They've been brave allies when they didn't have to be. Note that, Chen ordered. When we rebuild the Galactic Order, the Zolari will be rewarded for their loyalty. And every species that stood with the Council against us will remember this day. The Vrex Queen was brought before Chen under guard. She looked diminished now, her antenna drooping, her movement slow. You have won, she said simply. What are your terms? Chen gestured to a holographic display showing the battle's aftermath. First, you will issue a formal surrender to all Council forces. Second, you will release every human prisoner immediately and without condition. Third, you will open all Council databases for full inspection by human and neutral observers. Fourth, you will agree to attend a new peace conference, this time on Earth, where we will negotiate a treaty that treats all species fairly. And if we refuse? The Queen asked, though her voice held no defiance. Then we continue, Chen replied. We have 6 dreadnoughts now and more coming. We can sit here and blockade Concordia Prime indefinitely. We can hunt down every Council ship in the galaxy if necessary. Or you can accept that the old order is finished and work with us to build something better. The Queen's compound eyes studied him. You could have killed us all. Your weapons could have destroyed this station with everyone on it. Why didn't you? Chen considered the question carefully. Because humanity remembers what it's like to be afraid. We remember when we were weak, when we first reached for the stars and didn't know what waited for us in the dark. We remember how alone we felt, and we decided that if we ever became strong enough to inspire that kind of fear in others, we would be better than those who made us afraid. Poetic words, the Queen said, but you are still conquerors. You have defeated us and now you reshape the galaxy to suit your desires. No, Chen corrected. We are liberators. Look at the broadcasts, Your Majesty. Look at the responses coming from across the galaxy. He pulled up message feeds from 100 worlds. Species that had been silent members of the Council, always voting with the majority out of fear, were now speaking openly. They praised humanity's restraint. They demanded investigations into Council actions. They called for reform and representation. The smaller species, the ones who had been marginalized and ignored, saw hope for the first time in generations. This is not about human dominance, Chen continued. This is about ending Council dominance. The galaxy is big enough for every species to thrive without any one civilization controlling the rest. We're not here to replace you as rulers. We're here to make sure no one rules. A Luminar representative was brought forward, its crystalline structure still glowing despite its captivity. And what of justice? It asked, its translated voice melodic. The Council has maintained peace for 1,000 years. We prevented wars, mediated disputes, kept order. Yes, we made difficult decisions. Yes, some species were sacrificed for the greater good. But the alternative was chaos. The alternative was freedom, Webb interjected, looking up from his data terminal. You prevented wars by crushing anyone who might challenge you. You mediated disputes by deciding outcomes that benefited Council members. You kept order by making examples of species whose 6 months had passed since the battle at Concordia Prime, and Geneva had never seen anything like this. The city that had hosted peace conferences and international negotiations for centuries now played host to the galaxy itself. Alien ships filled the skies, their forms ranging from crystalline beauty to brutal functionality. Security was unprecedented, with human military forces working alongside representatives from 30 different species to ensure nothing disrupted the proceedings. Ambassador David Chen stood at the window of his hotel room, looking out at the transformed cityscape. Temporary structures dotted the landscape, housing delegations from across the galaxy. The Swiss government had opened their arms to the conference, seeing it as humanity's moment to prove they could lead by example, rather than force. Chen hoped they were right. Still nervous? Captain Sarah Reeves asked from the doorway. She had been promoted to Commodore after Concordia Prime, and now commanded the Diplomatic Protection Fleet, 6 battle groups dedicated to ensuring that peace conferences stayed peaceful. Terrified, Chen admitted. At Concordia, we knew we were walking into a trap. We prepared for violence. This is different. This time we're trying to build something that will last for generations, and I have no idea if we're wise enough to do it right. Reeves joined him at the window. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be better than what came before. The conference center had been built specifically for this event, a massive structure of steel and glass that incorporated design elements from 50 different species. The main chamber could hold 5,000 beings comfortably, with environmental controls that could adjust for everything from methane breathers to silicon-based life forms that needed extreme heat. Chen entered through security, passing through scanners that checked for weapons, biological threats, and unauthorized technology. The human guards worked alongside Zolari merchants, Pelthian scholars, and even a few Vrex warriors who had volunteered to serve in what they called a position of honor. The old enemies were learning to work together, slowly and with difficulty, but learning nonetheless. Inside the main chamber, the seating arrangement had been carefully designed to avoid giving any species preferential position. The Council's old habit of putting major powers at the center was gone. Instead, representatives sat in a circular arrangement where everyone could see everyone else. It was symbolic, but symbols mattered. The Vrex Queen entered with her delegation, and Chen noted how different she looked now. The arrogance was gone, replaced with something that might have been humility or might just have been wariness. She nodded to Chen as she passed, a gesture that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, now promoted to commander, and serving as head of the Bureau of Interstellar Intelligence, took his seat near Chen. "The broadcasts are ready," he said quietly. "Every word spoken here will be transmitted across the galaxy in real time. No secrets, no backroom deals. Everything transparent." "That's going to make negotiation difficult," Chen observed. "That's going to make dishonesty impossible," Webb corrected. "Which is the whole point." The Luminar Collective's representatives floated into position, their crystalline forms refracting the light into rainbow patterns. One of them transmitted a message. "Ambassador Chen, the Collective wishes to formally apologize for our actions at Concordia Prime. We were wrong to support the trap. We were wrong to believe that might made right." Chen stood and bowed slightly. "Your apology is accepted, and your presence here shows your commitment to building something better. That's all we can ask." More delegations arrived. The Thexian Commonwealth, their prime minister looking older and more tired than he had 6 months ago. The Kavarian Empire, with a new representative after their previous one resigned in shame. The Zolari Merchant Guild, given prominent seats as a reward for their loyalty to humanity during the Dark Years. The Pelthian Scholars Assembly, excited to finally have a real voice in galactic affairs. But there were new faces too. Species that had never attended council meetings because they were considered too small, too weak, or too unimportant. The Delphine Collective, a group of aquatic species who had been mostly ignored because their ocean worlds were difficult for others to visit. The crystalline minds, silicon-based life forms who thought on timescales of centuries and had been deemed too slow to participate in fast-paced galactic politics. The nomad fleets, spacefaring civilizations who had no homeworlds and had been denied voting rights because of it. Earth's Secretary General Maria Santos called the conference to order. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering during Earth's last great wars. She spoke with quiet authority that made everyone listen. "Welcome to Earth," she began, her words translated into 100 languages simultaneously. "We gather here not as conquerors and conquered, not as strong and weak, but as equals seeking a better future. What happened at Concordia Prime was both a tragedy and an opportunity. A tragedy, because it showed how far we had fallen from the ideals of cooperation and mutual respect. An opportunity because it gave us a chance to start fresh." She gestured to a holographic display showing the Galactic Council's old structure. For 1,000 years, the Council maintained what they called peace. But it was peace through intimidation. Peace through suppression of those who might challenge the established order. That ends today. We are here to write a new treaty, one that protects the rights of all species, not just the powerful ones. The Vrex Queen stood, her movements slow and deliberate. "Humanity has won the right to dictate terms." "We await your demands." "We have no demands," Chen said, standing to face her. "We have proposals, and they are open for discussion and modification. This is not a victor dictating terms to the defeated. This is a gathering of equals deciding together how we want to shape our shared future." He activated his own display, showing the draft treaty that Earth's diplomats had spent months preparing with input from dozens of species. The core principles are simple. First, every sentient species has the right to exist and develop without interference. Second, no species may be eliminated, enslaved, or forcibly assimilated by another. Third, disputes will be resolved through mediation and arbitration, not force. Fourth, technology and knowledge will be shared freely to help all species advance. Fifth, any species that threatens these principles will face consequences from the entire galactic community, not just individual nations. A representative from the Delphine Collective spoke up, their translated voice like whale song. "These are beautiful words, but words are not enough. The old council spoke of peace while committing atrocities. How do we ensure the new order does not become corrupt like the old one? By making sure power is distributed and checked, Webb answered, displaying a complex organizational chart. We propose a new galactic assembly where every species has equal representation, regardless of size or strength. We propose a security council, but one where members rotate every 5 years so no species can dominate. We propose an independent judiciary, with judges from neutral species who can rule on violations of the treaty. And we propose complete transparency, with all meetings, all votes, and all decisions made public for any citizen of any species to observe. The Thexian Prime Minister floated forward in his hover tank. And what of enforcement? If a species violates the treaty, who stops them? Admiral Joe's image appeared on the displays transmitting from orbit. Earth will maintain a galactic peacekeeping force, but it will not be solely human. We invite every species to contribute ships and personnel. Command will rotate among species, and any military action will require approval from the Security Council. No single species will control the force that keeps the peace. You would share military command with us? The Kavarian representative asked, clearly skeptical. After we tried to destroy you? Yes, Joe replied simply. Because we believe in second chances. Because we believe that yesterday's enemies can become tomorrow's allies. And because we know that power concentrated in one place, even our own hands, inevitably leads to corruption. Better to distribute it and accept the inefficiency that comes with shared command. The debate continued for hours. Every point was discussed, challenged, modified. Some species wanted stronger protections for cultural autonomy. Others wanted clearer definitions of what constituted aggression. The nomad fleets demanded recognition of mobile civilizations with the same rights as planet-based ones. The crystalline minds asked for accommodations in decision-making processes for species who thought differently than organic life. Chen listened to all of it, taking notes and working with his team to incorporate suggestions. This was messy and slow and frustrating, but it was also democracy at work on a galactic scale. No one was being silenced. No one was being dismissed. Every voice mattered. On the second day, the Vrex Queen requested time to speak. The chamber fell silent as she stood, her massive form casting shadows across the floor. I have ruled the Vrex hierarchy for 30 years, she began. I was